All right, so we are going to scale your support with self-service. What this is going to be, it's going to be several different things that we have out there. They're things that you're probably familiar with in one way or another. So it's going to be the Help Center or the Customer Portal, ASAP widget, guided conversations, and then some other embeddable services. All right, so what is self-service? You actually have a definition up here from Gartner, but obviously these are going to be things. We all know that today, everything is self-service, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's paying your bills online, whether it's paying through an app. This is going to be the way that you guys can provide that to your employees as well. There's actually some really exciting things in self-service and desk that we're going to talk about. I'll go ahead and look at some of them. So when we're talking about our website, and there's other ways that we can do this, but from the website, we can always use the knowledge base. So again, we're going to go over this. You guys are familiar with it, whether you know it or not. You use it, and maybe not for your company, but you actually do use the knowledge base. We also have the ASAP widget. So we're going to get into the details of that, but this is not just a widget you can put on your website. This is a widget that you guys can embed within your app. This is a widget that has a full SDK that you guys have access to, and you can do some really fancy things with it, and I'll kind of open your eyes to some of those, hopefully. Guided conversations. So piggybacking off of what Joseph was just talking about with Sales IQ, we have that sort of Zobot functionality built into Zoho Desk. So this is actually kind of one of my favorite features. And when it first came out, I configured one for a customer. They jumped on it. They started using it. Saw a really steep decline in some of those, quotes and things that were going out to their customers, some of that self-service, of course, and then the full-blown customer portal. And what we're looking at right here is going to be that customer portal that has that knowledge base, community, tickets all within it. And when I told you guys that you're familiar with it, that is because Zoho runs on Zoho. So in all truthfulness, 95% of my day I spend in Zoho software. So when customers call and request quotes, we send them through the Invoice app. When they submit support tickets, and we're talking for over that 100 million users that we have now, it all comes into our version of Desk. We use Sales IQ on all of our web pages, and we use the Help Center and the Customer Portal for our customers. So when I click on this, this is going to open up what you guys might be familiar with in one way or another is the Zoho Customer Portal. So this is using the same functionality in Desk that is available to you guys to help service your customers. So here we're looking at the knowledge base. We have a few different options up top. If we want to dig into one of these because we're in Desk, we'll talk about that. And we've categorized these different knowledge base articles. We can open them up into organizing settings, right? So we're getting all of this information. So while we're talking about this, I'll let you guys know that Zoho Desk also lets you do that SEO or that search engine optimization. You guys know when you have an issue with Zoho, you guys probably do the same thing that I do, and we Google search it, right? So Zoho Desk, guided conversations not working. So that is generally going to pull up, and this is not just Zoho employees either. This is going to be our customers. You guys are actually helping us out a lot to solve some of those problems too, because you have real world examples. So we can always talk about the software and the way it's supposed to work, but we rely on communities, and we're going to click on that tab up here to let our customers interact with that knowledge base and issues and support so that they can help us give real world examples, and they can actually, post their issues publicly and get some feedback from people. So if you guys aren't familiar with this, we'll go ahead and click into one, but there's a lot that's going to be done with this. We're going to be able to post a question. So our customers, or if you guys are using customer portals, your customers can come out there and post a question. And you can see if we open this top one out here, somebody's given a really nice explanation of what that question is. We have either replied ourselves as Zoho, and you can actually see that other customers have got in here as well. So one of the ways that you can increase that participation within that customer portal is by gamifying it. So that's what we have done as well, in that the more questions you answer, the more points you get. The more points you get, the more badges you get for different things, right? And it in a way kind of seems silly, but it really does boost that participation of your customers to actively engage. And the more your customers are actively engaging, the more there's kind of that community of people that are interacting. You guys all feel like you have something in common out there, and you do. So I'm going to open up a kind of sample portal over here. So the help center, customer portal, sorry, those terms are kind of interchangeable. If you guys ever go to set this up, it'll be called the help center. I think just the common verbiage is the customer portal. So excuse me for using those interchangeably. Becky told y'all that I have cows, so I'm happy with my cows, but I have created this demo for a nonprofit cattle company, and I have some knowledge base articles, very similar to what you guys see with Zoho, but these are specific to, well, cattle. So we could come out here and we could open this up and we could figure out how to vaccinate a calf from a knowledge base article. Don't do that. But it's something that you might kind of provide to somebody. So why I jumped into this is because we will actually log in over here, and it didn't. All right. So once we log in, then we'll be able to submit a ticket. So we're going to actually go look at the setup of this just a little bit because I want you guys to be less intimidated about it. But now that I've logged in, I can save these up here. Now I have access to add a ticket. So the same layouts, the same modules, when you guys select a certain field and present people with different choices out here, right? So as I pick different departments, I'm going to get different fields. So same way that you guys would create a ticket internally in Desk, you can have that happen in your help center out here as well, so that you're collecting the right information for the right problem so that you guys can solve that out there. Here is, I think somebody had the question about the picture on the Sales IQ. So that actually is Sales IQ, and there's a cow there. So I can show whoever that was adjusting that and about, yeah, I'll agree with you afterwards. So you can definitely do that. So we will talk a little bit now about the ASAP widget. ASAP widget is kind of a big deal for me. So I am what they call a solutions consultant. So I work with potential customers in the sales cycle, showing you guys the software. I know Amber talked about this earlier, but I do demos for usually our mid-market and enterprise customers. And ASAP widget comes up way more often than I thought it would, in the sense that it's so universal and so diverse that you can embed this, like I said, not just the website, not just an app, but I've actually embedded it within the CRM application so that you can provide knowledge-based articles to your users. I've embedded it within creator applications as well. So it's really diverse and kind of gives you guys a lot of options out there. It has the community, it has the tickets, and even something that the Help Center doesn't have, it has Ask Zia. So of course we know Zia is the artificial intelligence piece, which is going to provide information based off of AI and analyzing that information, all that fancy stuff that happens in the background over there. So an ASAP. So a separate website, I have the ASAP widget, and this is where I'm showing you all of these things. They don't always work well together in the sense that you give people too many options and you start to muddy the water. So on this one, totally separate web page, and I have the ASAP widget. So I've got some recent articles, popular articles. You guys can organize the way this data is seen within ASAP. Go directly to those knowledge base articles, see what they are. We can submit tickets. So one of the most common questions we have about this, though, is that nobody's logging into this, right? There's no actual login. If you guys are having people log into your help center, it can pass credentials. We have federated logins, so you can pass credentials from Facebook or from Twitter, right? So you can push that into it so that they automatically log in, and then they don't have to type up their contact name there. So also with what Joseph was talking about with Sales IQ, you can put down here in the chat. So you actually don't need a separate Sales IQ if you want to use the ASAP widget. This is not a good example of that because I've embedded my guided conversation in here, right? So you have options. You can embed the guided conversations or Sales IQ within that ASAP widget, and then do what you guys need to. So I'm going to go ahead and end that chat. And we can, any questions on that later, we'll get into, because there's quite a bit that you can do. So let's go look at a different website. And now we're going to get into guided conversations. So since Joseph just went, I'm going to make a really direct comparison between what guided conversations can do and what the Zoho Sales IQ Zobot can do. It's actually a lot of the same stuff, right? But a lot of, not everybody uses CRM Plus or Zoho One. So you can use guided conversations within Desk without having Sales IQ. I'm going to open this up, and some of the things, we'll actually get into the settings on this one because I want more people to use it. So I want you guys to get over that hump of kind of being intimidated to get something started. And it's going to come up and it's going to say, hey, Nathan, you've got a demo going on. What do you want to demo today, right? So we have a product configurator. I'm going to kind of stop there and talk about the ways that I've used this before. So I was on a demo one time with a solar company. We actually created a guided conversation that will let people go in, select what type of solar they want. They can select how much energy, pull up their electric bill, and they can put how much energy they're trying to gather from it. And then, and then get a really realistic quote, or at least a decent estimate. Of course, we're going to gather their information also and then call them, but at least we've given them that information and maybe have piqued their interest. So in this example, and I didn't carry this one on and on and on, let's do the product configurator. So I'm making a selection, and based on that selection, it's going to ask me here. I do know for a fact this laptop doesn't have location services turned on. If it did, pulls up a really nice map. They can pick where they are, and we can actually use that location to provide them with services, right? Because it's different putting solar up in California than it is in Texas. So gathering that information, using that as part of the logic as you're developing where they go and what sort of values we give to them. So I'm going to skip that, and we're going to get the next question. So in this one, again, we're not talking about solar. We're talking about servers. So we have servers, laptops, maybe routers, different things that we're looking at. We're going to make a selection for servers, and we're going to keep going through this. So different types of forms that we're displaying. Maybe we want images. Maybe we just want to give them buttons that they can select out there. What type of server you're looking for, a rack. It's starting to get repetitive here. So I stopped it at that point, and now we're just going to gather that information like we were talking about. Nathan and the Zobot that Joseph showed you was all a drag and drop builder. So the same with guided conversations, but at some point you might want to make this a little bit fancier. And this is probably a real address, but I'm going to do Nathan at nathan.com. And maybe at this point we have collected enough information to email them a quote. The other thing that we could do is maybe send this information into CRM and tag a sales rep on it so that they can start doing those follow-up conversations. How eager are you, right? So using this number, maybe we're going to add a tag to that record, that lead in CRM, and say that this is a high priority or hot lead or something because they want to buy like today. They're ready to go. Click submit, and then the options open up. So we have webhooks in here. And while I'm talking about those things, let's go ahead and take a look at it. Anyway, we sent them a quote. All of that good stuff happened. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That did not happen because I didn't configure it to do that. But it is an option. It is something that we have done before. So I want to actually look at the software and look at the way that guided conversation is out here. And I'm going to tell on myself a little bit because you guys are going to see that I didn't draw all of those paths. So when I was selecting those options out there, I was very specific about what I was selecting, and I'll show you why. So this is the guided conversation, and we have different cards that present different information. So here's my welcome card, this information. Then we hit an area where they make selections on what products they want to use. And this is where I created those images with different Dell or different branded servers out there that you guys can make those selections from. I'm going to make an edit to this so that we can talk a little bit about those options. But we're going to actually look at it because we offer products. Are we going to do product configuration? Are we going to do support? So if I want to build out the rest of this tree, I'm going to click on plus over here, and these are the options. So info card. We saw that one already with the image, what sort of information. Maybe we want to give them a link to some external resources, whatever it is. We're going to collect that information and store it in the system. So in the example of the solar quote, we are collecting how much how much energy are you wanting to produce by these. And we're going to store it as a variable in the system that we'll use later. And then we're going to use that and calculate based off of that zip code. I'm not showing you this part, right? We're just talking kind of about what the potential. We're going to take the rate for that zip code and kind of multiply and then add implementation costs and things like that. So as we're using these cards, we're storing that data, and then we can use them later in many different ways. And in this case, we could perform an operation. So a calculation, right? A formula field in Excel, so to speak. We can fork, we can go in different directions. We can use a webhook. Webhooks are scary to people, but actually once you get pretty familiar with these, and this is done in a really good way in guided conversations, maybe we want to dispatch a ticket to FSM when this is done, right? Maybe we've identified a problem and we want to send somebody en route to deliver a part. We can do that. So we can create that webhook and do that. We could create an invoice, that lead I was talking about, maybe a contact, something like that within the system. So it really opens up some of those options. This is where, having developer experience is wonderful, but of course we're going to help you guys out with any of this that is out there. So just want to show you some of those options. And then in contrast to what you guys saw with Sales IQ, also we have response blocks for Zoho Desk. So in the Zobot, I think you really only have the ability to create a ticket is the only thing that you can do within Sales IQ Zobot. Here you've got a lot of other options. You can update tickets, you can get ticket information, you can search tickets, you can update contacts. So this is really important because if we are, maybe we want to, this is an existing customer we're trying to support, we want to search for the products that they already own before we give them support articles, right? So if we can do that by searching that information, bringing it into this builder, then we're going to be a lot more helpful as we move through that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the last one that I have out here, and this is going to be embedded services. So if you guys are familiar with some of our other products, there was actually a question earlier specifically about this, so we'll go ahead and take a look at it. I have just a couple little examples of things that you can do within the system for embedding, like a feedback widget is this top one out here. So for that feedback widget, we're collecting different pieces of information and putting it into the system for feedback. I think a good example of this is that you might, at the end of your ticket, want to redirect somebody to your website and collect feedback at the same time. We all know that we can put the little smiley faces that you guys, if you ever send a support ticket to Zoho, you have little smiley faces that you can select from. Out here, we might want to get a little bit more feedback. So you can redirect them to a landing page where you have this feedback widget embedded, right? So that's a good way to use it. Also down here, just a standard web form. So this is taking fields from Zoho Desk, putting them within this form, embedding it on your web page, and then letting people fill out information. So maybe a contact form. Maybe you guys aren't using CRM and you want to just collect data directly into Desk. You can use a web form to do that. So in this case, last name, email, subject is going to create either, maybe a new ticket or a new contact or both within the system. So let's go ahead and get back into, I wanted to make sure we got through everything before we dug into some of the details of the things that we're talking about out here a little bit. So let's go back to the Zoho Help Center. So we know that Zoho has one. We know that My Cows have one. Let's talk about some of these options out here because these two examples are pretty similar, but I want to make sure you guys know how configurable this is to meet what you need to do. One catch to the Help Center is that it actually cannot be embedded within your current website. So it's going to be a separate pop-up. It's going to be something that is hosted. It can map to your domain, but it doesn't embed within your existing application. So a little caveat there, but I just want to mention it. Let's go, and this actually scrolls in the opposite direction that I scroll in. So we can rebrand it, of course, with the logo that we have out there. Those access settings, when I talked about letting people create tickets without logging in, are they going to see the community and the helps? And there are a lot of just really specific settings about the way that you want that to function within the system. Languages, right? Do you guys provide multilingual support? So they will actually, when they're looking at that, have a language selection option in the top right. If they want to see it all in Spanish, great. It'll actually translate that data into Spanish, and you will select what those are by toggling in the switch and then adding other languages out there to the portal. Help Center customization. So some of the feedback that I got when I am putting these out for people or I'm configuring them for people is that there's not that many options as far as the way that looks and the way that feels. And they found that it was difficult to actually make it mimic their web page. We don't want it to feel like we're going somewhere else. So this is where, if you guys have a web developer and you want to be able to modify this, we actually do give you full access to the HTML code and the CSS script, which means that you can make these your exact branded colors. You can add logos. You can change the location of these, the different tabs out there, all of that good stuff, and full control of it. So, even with our customers that have over 100, over 1,000 users out there, we're going to pinpoint exactly the branding specifics. They usually have web pages that tell us what those are, and we'll go out there and we'll set that up and get this all configured so it matches exactly the way that they want it to look out there. So a lot you can do beyond just coming out here and changing colors. Keep going, make it look right. So user authentication, I talked about this a little bit, but people like to log in with Facebook. People are already logged in. So you can actually use user authentication to do pass-through with SAML or federated login, which is going to be Facebook, Google, all that stuff, right? Pass that information in, save people time. I'm not going to go through all of these. We have SEO. So again, if you guys want to make your knowledge base articles very searchable and very relevant on Google, set up the SEO. And that way, when people Google search your company and this problem, it's going to be the first thing that pops up, right? So pro tip there. And then getting into integrations where we can add our Sales IQ widget, right? PageSense. I don't know if you guys know about PageSense, but if we really want to analyze the way people are navigating our help center, integrate PageSense. A great thing for those of you that are Zoho 1. It's an underutilized piece of software. I love it. So let's go ahead and look down here at community as well, because this is where we set some of those gamification preferences if you guys want to do this. And this is where, kind of that word of caution. I really don't have to tell you guys this, but if you have some disgruntled customers, you might want to think twice about, putting this out there. Let's get some of that taken care of, because they're going to be able to go out there and post and make comments, and people are going to be able to see that. So, okay, so here's the feedback widget that we looked at out there as well. Subject line, knowledge base articles, just some configuration options. Do we want to include that live chat in that feedback widget? Do we want to let them add attachments, include screenshots, all of that information, languages, changing the look and feel of this feedback widget a little bit there as well? There's not as many configuration options for this, but I will tell you that it's going to give you the code that you can embed this on your website and then make those modifications afterwards. So pop up, embed, so your web developer can set the background color, or they can set the formatting for that. So don't be discouraged if you see that it doesn't look the way you want it to. It is actually configurable after the fact. And same with those web forms. So this web form on my website was really generic, very basic. It didn't match the formatting. That's where we have to kind of lean on our website developers to make this look right on that web page out there. So really, this process is just dragging and dropping the fields out here. If you do need something a little bit more advanced, where we have dynamic fields, right? You select something from a pick list, and you want to show a different list of fields or pre-populate stuff, Zoho One users are probably going to want to rely on Zoho Forms as opposed to this piece, right? It's kind of limited functionality pre-built into the desk application. If you need to take it a step further, then, definitely do that. So that's what I have set up for you guys.